Welcome to a new episode of the Cigar Snob Podcast. This is episode 28. I am joined, I am, because I go first. I am Nick Jimenez. I'm joined by Eric Calvino.
What up?
And Ivan Ocampo.
Hello.
We are going to get into all kinds of fun stuff, from Puerto Rican cigars to the NBA playoffs update. Don't worry, we're not going to go too deep. I know you've been blown away by our deep analysis over the last few episodes.
So deep.
News from the cigar world, some civil unrest in Central America, and a bunch of other stuff. But first, a word from this episode's sponsor, Villiger Cigars. Villiger Cigars, celebrating 130 years in tobacco, unveils its first ever full-bodied premium handmade cigar in the Villiger La Vencedora. The Villiger La Vencedora is the follow-up cigar to the highly acclaimed Villiger La Flor de Inclán and Villiger Sandoro Colorado. This Nicaraguan puro, wrapped in a beautiful Nicaraguan Habano Oscuro wrapper, boasts a potent, full-bodied smoking experience featuring highly seasoned, hearty flavors. The Villiger La Vencedora, which translates to the Victor, emits a billowing aromatic smoke throughout the smoking experience. The Villiger La Vencedora, a palate-pleasing, full-bodied, yet elegant cigar that will satisfy the cigar connoisseur as well as the casual smoker. All right, on this episode of the podcast, our featured cigar is something a little bit different. And it's also a little bit of a mystery.
How different, Nick?
So different. From the land where R's are L's and Mangu is Mofongo.
Mofongo? Everybody knows what Mofongo is except this guy.
Andy, our art director, and I were recently in Puerto Rico to work on a travel story that will appear in the next issue of the magazine. And while we were there...
More on that later. While we were there, we stopped by some of San Juan, Puerto Rico's tobacconists, and one of the things we picked up was a little grab bag of cigars at Don Rey, which has several stores in Puerto Rico. The store we stopped by was at what is called La Placita, a sort of like plaza where there's a lot of sort of casual dining and street parties in Santurce, which is just east of Old San Juan. So here is a description of these cigars from Don Rey's website. Bear in mind, this is a small manufacturer from Puerto Rico, where they don't have much of a marketing team. But I will read this as it was written, and I hope you guys will enjoy this as much as I did. Don Rey Cigar careful searches for the finest materials and products to elaborate their cigars. They use 5 distinctive tobaccos, fillers, such as seco, ligero, mild, band, and wrapper. The first 4 are found in Puerto Rico, but the wrappers come from the Connecticut, Brazil, Cameroon, and Habana 2000. Don Rey Cigars offers 22 styles of tobacco such as El Torpedo, Corona, Pyramid, Churchill, Robusto, Military 3-Color, among other, and distinct flavors of cigars such as vanilla, mango, amaretto, cognac, etc. Each one is handcrafted and elaborated with care and precision to assure their clients the best cigar experience. Now, I don't know for certain what we're smoking right now. It is the only box-pressed thing they make. It was unbanded at the store. And I think this is an interesting case study of don't let wacky copy like that turn you off, because I like this. Yeah, the cigar's actually good.
This is pretty good.
And I wanted to know, and now you just answered that you don't know, but...
I know it's not Cameron.
It isn't Cameron.
It's not
That's
Cameron.
for damn sure.
No.
But no, I wanted to ask you what this was and where. I mean, are their cigars made in Puerto Rico? These guys. So these box pressed. By the way, beautifully box pressed.
Looks pretty.
Really well done. So these are made there.
These are made in Puerto Rico. And when we were there, we spoke with the owner. I believe his name is Patricio Peña. And he's got several stores in Puerto Rico. They just opened a lounge in Panama City. And they will be opening another store and lounge in Columbus, Ohio. So, this is a legit...
There's nothing wrong with the cigar.
No, this is a solid cigar from a legit, tobacconist manufacturer. The selection there
was also good. They had a solid selection of Tabacalera Palma, some Davidoff products, all kinds of stuff. A lot of Altadas in general things. So yeah, I mean, and fun fact, the guys who make this were also responsible for multiple entries in the longest cigar category in the Guinness Book of World Records. So they'd made one, record was broken, came back and made another. So
are they the current record holders? This matters.
I believe they're the current record holders. Don't hold me to that. But we will be digging deeper. He made it seem like he was the current record holder, but you never want to take people at their word when they're talking about how big their cigars are.
Yes, yes. But no, honestly, the cigar itself, it's really well constructed, good flavors, not overwhelming, not a lot of strength, but I got no problem smoking this.
Good full body cigar.
Full body?
Not a lot of spice,
I don't.
but not a lot of strength.
Oh, you mean okay, full body in the sense of the
Yeah,
word
it's the
body. Okay,
body
yeah,
is
not
the
not
flavors.
not substituting strength.
Right.
You know, this is the only thing I've smoked, so I had the same thing while we were there. And assuming that this is roughly where, you know, their portfolio sits, it also works really well because when you're in Puerto Rico, which is such a walkable city that you end up on your feet outside in heat, a lot of the time you don't want full-strength cigars to be walking around Puerto Rico with.
Yeah, and the heat and sweating and yeah, no.
So this is a solid, you know, nice medium, you know, but big enough on flavor that you can, you know, do it after a meal or with a drink or whatever it may be. Yeah, if you happen to be in Puerto Rico, check out Don Rey Cigars. We'll revisit this cigar in a bit, but definitely check them out. And again, I think this is an interesting case study in, like, you know, not all good cigars necessarily have slick marketing behind them. This is a solid smoke.
And the copy is pretty bad. I mean, I don't want to dissect it because
It's clearly a language thing, right? But
yeah. Well, not only just a language thing, right?
Do you know how much
You
these
can
retail
your
for?
fillers are seco, ligero, mild, band, and wrapper. Yeah, it's not just a language thing, but again, I don't want to beat them up over it.
I think it's possible it's not a language thing, but also who knows whether somebody told them, like, maybe somebody asked, like, oh, what do you call the different things? And somebody said filler. And they just, oh, okay, well, then I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, and band, I believe they mean banda, which would be binder.
Right, not band, B-A-N-N-E-D.
Yeah, like we have this band tobacco.
Yeah. Ivan, you were asking how much these cigars cost. So to give you one example, their Don Rey Robusto, it's funny, they offer all of these different packaging options. So you can get a single cigar coffin for $10, a cardboard pack of 5 for $30, a wood box of 5 for $35, a wood cigar case of 10 for $50, 25 for $120. But then, like, all the boxes look different, at least on their website. It's all like different colors for each
Sounds
count.
very confusing. I mean,
It's
I'm
very
not looking at it.
Very confusing.
So.
Yeah. But again, don't let this turn you off. If you're in Puerto Rico, don't see this website and think, I'm not going there. You should go and you should smoke this because it's good. So, with that, let's talk Puerto Rico. So, Andy and I were in Puerto Rico for the first time. Neither of us had ever been. We were there from a Tuesday to a Friday morning and ate a lot of things, a lot of mofongo, which for those of you who don't know is a mashed fried plantain, usually with some kind of protein topping.
Pork.
Usually, well, actually,
No, I
did
know
I have
that- no.
did I have pork? I don't think I had any with pork.
I love pork on mofongo.
I went steak twice and shrimp once.
I'm partial to the shrimp.
Scrimp.
Yep.
Yeah, because the mofongo's already so heavy, you want like that light. But anyway,
You guys don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
How they doing hurricane recovery wise though?
So yeah, that was part of why we went to Puerto
that's
Rico.
the whole idea, right?
And Eric, I think you could probably speak to, since you were there for what was the period of time that you were in Puerto Rico?
I worked at the Puerto Rico Department of Treasury for about 8 months, living in Condado.
Right. So,
But I haven't been back after the hurricane. So, by the way, this was like 15 years ago.
right. So, when we were in Puerto Rico, I think what we saw was that at least in areas that tourists would go to, it was just about fully functional, with the exception of maybe some larger hotels that, according to people we spoke with, were still shut down because they had issues with like mold and stuff from being without air conditioning right on the water for as long as they were. But for the most part, everything works just fine. We never saw any power outage issues or any of that. The major difference, which I think worked out for us because we were there to, do things efficiently and get the photos we needed to, let readers of the
Nick, whoever's
magazine.
listening to this on the other side and you're saying that you do things efficiently, they're all cracking up right now.
Oh! Oh, no, she didn't! Oh, yes, she did! No, she didn't!
So, we're trying to get into it. Yeah, I don't know. Those, all right, burn. So we'll find some burn sound effects. But no, there are very few tourists there. So where normally Old San Juan would be crowded and you'd be wading through a lot of crowds on the street, maybe waiting at restaurants. There was no waiting anywhere. There was, it's super easy to walk around the city without, being slowed down by a crowd.
But not a ghost town either.
But not a ghost town. So not a ghost town, but it does feel a little more ghosty when you're once you go and you sit, for instance, at a popular restaurant and you realize, like...
What was a popular restaurant?
Well, maybe at one point, like, for example, La Mallorquina, which is a historic restaurant right in the center of Old San Juan, that normally would have had lines out the door. It was the two of us and maybe a handful of other people with two waiters. So there are issues there. There are issues with a number of people.
One of them having lunch.
One of them was having lunch, and the other, while waiter number one was having lunch, waiter number two made a run to a grocery store, leaving us
pick up a couple things,
leaving us to run the place. But really, other than that, I mean, things were open. We enjoyed the food. We enjoyed the drinks. We enjoyed walking around, seeing everything. The only things that people tell us, and we didn't bother doing this because it would have taken too long. It would have been its own whole day thing. But El Yunque, which is a rainforest that tourists go to often, still has some areas that you can't get into and out of. I guess like down trees, covering pathways and stuff like that. But you've been, Ivan?
Yeah, I've been.
What do you have things that were
I've
like
been
highlights
to
for
I've
you?
been to a Yunque, and I know why they call it a rainforest.
Yeah.
It freaking poured when I was there the
Yeah.
entire time. Yeah.
So it's not false marketing.
No, I don't.
No,
I think it's like the only legit rainforest in the United States. I
It
think.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that would have been cool to do. But Old San Juan, that's a place that even though it's not particularly big, you could really spend a lot of time there and
Yeah,
not run out of things.
There's a lot to do there.
Uh,
Would you have gone? So now, after you did the piece,
Yeah.
this happens to us all the time. Whenever we travel to a destination to do a travel editorial, a lot of times we go back to it because we enjoyed it so much.
right.
So and I think that for us is the ultimate test, right, of how much we really like the place. Would you go back there with Elsie?
I would go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I would go back. What I will say is that the one of two really negative experiences we had, and this is not necessarily a knock on what Puerto Rico has to offer, but on the very last day we were there were protests in the streets over austerity measures that the Puerto Rican government is taking, and it slowed down our getting to the airport. Had we been there through Tuesday, there were like cops in riot gear out on the streets and tear gas.
You're
and
scaring
the whole
people.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, but no, what I'm saying, it's something to bear in mind, right? Because Puerto Rico, for all of the good that it has to offer, is also recovering in more of a social sense now from the hurricane thing.
Yeah.
You've had, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like close to 200,000 people have left the island.
I've heard higher numbers than that, but
Yeah, but I mean, maybe that's conservative. I mean, it's all kind of based on estimates, right? Because some people are applying for FEMA aid, but using outside of Puerto Rico
Correct.
addresses or whatever. But
I'd say go to Orlando.
Yeah, like in the
Or
last
they-
decade.
If it's cheap enough, if airfare is cheap enough and the hotels are cheap enough, you'll just walk right past the cops in the riot gear without a
I guess so.
problem, right?
Yeah. But no, it's something that I would do. But I think that is something to be cognizant of. That you're not, you're going to a place that's still going through some stuff. That we felt totally safe the whole time, but it does seem
my
like
experience with protests in Puerto Rico when I was working there, they were all very minor. I mean, there were protests like you find in Latin American countries all the time, but they were pretty minor.
Yeah.
You could just cruise right past it, almost like what you said, just walk past the cops in riot gear. So I don't know, that shouldn't. I mean, I know that you can't just say that, but that shouldn't scare you away from going.
Sure. As one of our Uber drivers put it, "El pueblo está rebelde." So I thought that was pretty great.
I mean, it's to be expected. I mean, they've been just hammered.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the rough summary of Puerto Rico. But check out the travel story in the upcoming issue of Cigar Snob. Keep an eye out for that.
You can't get off like that so easy, right? What about
Oh boy.
Cigar House?
Oh well, shit. Yeah. Cigar House. Cigar House is on Fortaleza.
So Cigar House is a shop with a big lounge.
Yes, and it's sort of like on the south side of Old San Juan, and I would say of all the tobacconists we've visited for magazine purposes, it might be like in my top 5.
So definitely a destination.
Of all places you've visited for the magazine.
U.S. cigar retailers. Yeah.
So definitely a destination shop.
It is a destination shop. They have, and it's not just a destination shop for smokers. I mean, you go there and they make sure to let you know. Rita, who's one of the owners, with her husband Samuel. Yep. In fact, she already had. So we had just met, or I had just met. You knew them already, but we had just seen them at Viaje al Origen, the Davidoff trip. What was that? 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And she already had a bunch of 8x10s blown up and framed on the walls, and it was like a gallery wall of Viaje al Origen photos. So they make sure to let you know their most recent, hobnobbing with cigar industry people is fun.
Well, and she tells you who makes
exactly
her cigar.
Yeah,
I was very keen on that.
So I believe my father is making most, if not all of their.
I didn't know your dad made cigars.
Man, he's pretty good at it. He's a pretty good reputation.
So my father's cigars makes their cigar.
So anyway, definitely check that shop out. Great bar and lounge area. Huge.
They have a full liquor bar there?
I believe so. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's been a long time,
but
so
I'm pretty sure that I remember seeing full liquor behind the bar. Maybe I'm making that up, but pretty sure. So, yeah, check that out.
What about restaurant recommendation?
There's good Puerto Rican food all over, and then I think when you get tired of that, you want to do Marmalade, which is actually just down the street from Cigar House, and that was one of I wouldn't go top 5 meals we've done with Cigar Snob because we eat pretty well on these trips, but it was up there. It was not at all Puerto Rican. It was actually a lot of a surprising amount of sort of radical extremes, right? You go from like mofongo on every corner to then Marmalade is this little pocket where there's like a lot of vegetarian options and funky pastas and a lot of truffle on things. Very little pork anywhere on the menu.
What's the style of the food there though? So like, because it sounds kind of French nouveau.
No, I think it was more just.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going from what you're saying.
I think it's just one of those things where San Juan isn't a great food city, right? They don't have a lot of variety. So I think they just have so many different directions they can go in. So for example, I had we both had Italian-ish dishes. I had a braised lamb gnocchi, and Andy had is it pappardelle or pappardelle?
Yeah, pasta. Yeah.
With truffle. And then we had but it's not all Italian. We had a creme brulee. It was a corn creme brulee with, I forget what else they had put on there.
Yeah. All right. Well, Nick, you really like the place.
Yeah, I really like the place. I was ready to move on, but now Ivan is, Anyway.
Hey, how are the ladies? Were there any Jennifer Lopez lookalikes walking around?
I wouldn't say that the streets were very empty, but I would say top 10 percentile in that category of people watching them among cigar
the food
snob
scene might not be great, but I remember the last time I was there, that was pretty good. So,
but bear in mind that we were in Old San Juan and it's like tourist heavy. A lot of people, we were there during the week, so it wasn't a lot of activity on the street. We were told by multiple people that if what you want to see is ladies, that Placita area that Don Rey is on is the spot. That's the place to go on weekend nights.
The El San Juan hotel lobby.
Yeah.
Whoa. I remember that.
Yeah, it's tough.
My neck still hurts.
Still got the cramps, the Puerto Rican cramps.
Absurd. Just absurd.
Anything else we want to get into here on the Puerto Rico front?
No, but I think we needed to get into that stuff, right. Nicky.
Well, you know what? Here, I will say one more thing before we move on, because this is something that I think most people would assume it's great, and it is a hard no from me. Do not do the Bacardi tour. The Bacardi tour, I'm a fan of Bacardi rums. People knock Bacardi, like they think I think Bacardi makes some good stuff, but it's the first time I've ever been on a tour of a facility that makes something where you see none of the making. You see 0 distillery.
That ain't no good.
And it's way out of the way. So don't do it. You'll have a better time elsewhere. Drink Bacardi wherever you go if you want, but don't bother with the tour. You'll be disappointed. Speaking of tropical destinations, you guys were just in a different one, shooting in just Key West or other keys?
No, Key West.
So I wasn't there. Tell me all about
Also
it.
ravaged by the hurricane. No, not ravaged. It was.
Well, parts of the keys.
Oh no, for sure. But Key West itself was spared. I mean, it looked like nothing had happened there, right? You agree?
I loved it.
Yeah, it was
It was
awesome.
perfect. Yeah.
No power outages.
No, not at all. Flip flops everywhere.
There were tons of people as soon as those cruise ships arrived.
Yep.
It was packed. But no, we did 2 photo shoots there featuring Leaf by Oscar and Island Jim cigars. For those of you that don't know, Island Jim Robinson, he used to work in Key West, so that was the connection there.
I could tell by the attire.
Yeah, right. It's I don't know what gave it away, but no, it was a damn good time. The shoots were both excellent. Right, we shot
got-
one in like Duval Street in that area, and then the other in the resort that we stayed in, which was the Perry, Key West.
Kick-ass place.
Kick-ass little resort, right?
Had a little marina in the back. If you got a boat.
The food was really good.
Top notch.
Really good food. So we shot, yeah, like I said, one on Duval in that area, and then one in the resort, and then a nearby beach. Which beach did we end up at? Do you remember? It's like
No, I don't know.
It's the
I don't
one
know
right-
names,
yeah.
But they don't have many beaches.
it's one of the only public beaches there in Key West. But outstanding photo shoots. You probably saw some stuff on Instagram and whatnot. And that's coming up in the next issue.
Cool.
So,
Before we move on, a word from our sponsor, El Galán Cigars. El Galán Reserva Especial comes in 4 sizes, all of them box pressed. The 5x52 Airosos, the 5 3/4 by 54 Apuestos, the 6x52 Gallardos, which is a torpedo, the 6x60 Obesos. All of these are 100% Nicaraguan puros. Nicaraguan puros with Jalapa Oscuro wrappers, available in stores nationwide. You can find them online at elgalancigars.com or on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at El Galán Cigars. That's ELGALAN Cigars. elgalancigars.com. All right. Felix Mesa's a winner. Who have the winners been in the NBA playoffs? We have been doing some NBA playoff prognostication. Very highly qualified to
super.
to feed you guys this analysis. How are the two of you doing on your predictions so far?
Mine's doing great because I bet against you guys, and the 76ers took it to the Heat. So
No, I didn't pick the.
No,
the
but
Heat.
I did.
Yeah, no,
I
I know,
did,
I know
yeah.
you did. No, I also am down though. I said Milwaukee would. I predicted Milwaukee would outlast Boston, but they came out so damn slow after that. Cruise at the end of the season. They didn't come out with any fire. But anyway, so I'm down. Ivan's the only one that still got a horse in the race with Utah.
Yeah, I think
Although they're down to Houston already.
I think I had Golden State and the Raptors in the finals, so
Yeah,
we'll see about all that. But that's where I'm still alive. So just to recap, we are now in the conference semifinals. We've got Houston up against Utah. New
Houston
Orleans
leading 1-0.
Right, Houston leading 1-0. The Pelicans are down to the Warriors.
Fly,
2-0.
Pelican, fly.
Pelicans
Pelicanos.
fly. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 1-0 above the Raptors.
Didn't
And
see that happening.
no,
No, Toronto looks really strong.
Well, yeah, they went to overtime, but yeah, it's tough, man, when you got the best player in the freaking
that's
world.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then finally Boston has a 1-0 lead on the 76ers. So don't bother watching any basketball. We'll be back next week with your update on the NBA playoffs, and that's really all you need. Moving from news from the NBA playoffs to the news from Cigar Town. This is where we give you some of the latest on product releases. Again, this is not comprehensive, but here's some of the most exciting stuff that we're aware of from the last week or so. Drew Estate announced the pre-release of its Liga Privada number 9 Corona Viva, exclusively for Cigars International Superstore in Hamburg, Pennsylvania, for their 15th annual Cigar Fest. That's a destination event that people travel a good distance to get to, so keep an eye out if you're on your way to that event for Corona Viva. The cigar features a Connecticut broadleaf Oscuro wrapper, Brazilian Matafina binder, and Nicaraguan and Honduran fillers. According to Drew Estate's announcement, it is like the Corona Viva releases in 2012, featuring a bit more ligero for a fuller, stronger profile. These are available in 24-count boxes for $290. And for whatever reason, I refuse to do this math. Drew Estate gave us the measurements in metric measurements. So this is a 152 by 46 in millimeters. You bust out your calculators. Don't drive and calculate. Good luck figuring that out. Rocky Patel Premium Cigars and distributor Alliance Cigar have teamed up to add a new product to Alliance's De Socio series. I might be saying that wrong. Maybe it's De Socio.
No, I think you're right.
De Socio. It's a Corona Gorda, 5 3/4 by 46 in Rocky Patel's Sun-Grown Maduro brand. As you might have guessed, these will be available exclusively at stores that get product from Alliance. So,
Shout out to Tom.
there you go. Here's how Rocky Patel's press release describes the cigar. The Sun-Grown Maduro de Socio features a balance of Nicaraguan fillers and binder tobaccos, enveloped beneath a lush Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. The De Socio series was created by Alliance Cigar president and owner Tom Sullivan as a tribute to his grandfather. This is the 8th installment in that series. Camacho's brought back its Coyolar brand. Camacho describes this as a, quote, single farm vintage, as the blend comprises only Criollo tobaccos from a single 15-acre Honduran farm.
Was it spelled that way?
It was spelled that way. It was spelled Criollo. Criolao.
Creole.
Only Criolao tobaccos from a single 15-acre Honduran farm. A Camacho press release describes this blend as delivering blasts. I like that. Blasts of leather, pepper, rich coffee, and oak.
Like they come in waves of blasts.
Nice. The cigar will be available in its 5 original sizes, ranging from the 4.5 by 50 Perfecto No. 1 to the 6 by 60 Titan. Price per cigar ranges from $8.50 to $10.
I'm excited to smoke this because I think I mentioned to you earlier, issue number 1 of Cigar Snob featured a Camacho Coyolar on the cover.
Yep.
So we rated it a 90 back then. So I'm anxious to check this out and see. I think I still have a couple of the old ones. Obviously, they will be aged out. They've been there probably 10 or 12 years.
Oh, well.
But, yeah, I can't wait to try that.
Cool. And now this is final. Finally, among other releases created to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Avo brand, Davidoff announces its release of the limited edition Avo Improvisation 30 Years. Production is limited to just 2,400 boxes of 25. This is a new take on the Avo Classic No. 3 blend, featuring an Ecuadorian wrapper, Dominican binder, and Dominican fillers. The Classic, by contrast, uses a Connecticut shade wrapper. The Improvisation 30 Years will share the Classic's 7.5 by 50 format. That is the news from Lake Cigar-Bagon. Join us the next time on the next episode for more of that news. Moving on to, there's a lot of civil unrest in this episode of the podcast.
It is. You know what I've noticed is there's a lot of civil unrest and a lot of Coronas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like Corona Viva, the De Socio Corona, and then you've got unrest in Puerto Rico and unrest in Nicaragua.
All right, so Nicaragua's civil unrest is, and it's actually also sort of similar in the sense that it's, I don't know if you'd call it an austerity measure, but it's related to, government proposals to change some of their spending and taxation. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I think that's what on the surface, right, is what
Right, yeah.
what like triggered the final straw. But
Yeah, so that final straw was basically that that Ortega's government had announced that they would be reducing Social Security benefits and keeping the same or increasing.
I think increasing.
And increasing, what people would have to contribute to their Social Security program. And this is particularly relevant, obviously, to the cigar industry because even in Esteli, there have been protests in the streets and whatnot, even after the government backed off.
Yeah, all over the country, not just Managua. I mean, and Esteli is a big city for Nicaragua.
Yeah, and this is people dying in protests and
It's like 60 some odd people died, right?
yeah, nuts. Or have you heard anything from cigar makers that you've been in touch with? You know,
No, I
maybe
mean,
maybe without naming
some of
names
them
or
have,
whatever,
some of them have recorded what they hear from their windows at night and during protests and things like that. Some of it is scary, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you've got these people have their families and all that happening outside is nuts. I mean, it happened so fast. It went from a completely I get this question all the time when people ask me about, oh, you guys go down to Central America all the time. And I tell them, oh, Nicaragua, it's super stable,
Yeah.
easy to go, crime's not a problem. And then just on a dime, it turned. On a dime. And I think it caught the Ortegas by surprise, too.
Yeah, you figure if they had seen this coming, they wouldn't have pulled that.
Of course. And, I mean, it's just gotten ugly real fast. And I don't know where it ends because, they're calling for get the hell out of here, right?
The protesters.
Yeah, the protesters, but I don't know that he's. I mean, this is the typical problem with a dictator, right? Even though technically,
Yeah.
So they never know when to leave. Like, then you get the Ceausescu problem, right? They get in the end they get assassinated because it's like, or death by firing squad or something. I mean, it gets really ugly really fast.
I'm kind of like a dictator at parties. I never know when to leave. I hope they don't bring out the firing squads for me.
Yeah,
I'm not leaving
Ivan's
this party till the Molotov cocktails come out.
Ivan's typical line when he's at your party is, "Are you kicking me?" Like you bring up anything, you're like, "Hey, dude, I think I'm gonna change the music because I mean people are not dancing or something." He's like, "You kicking me out? Are you kicking me out?" That's his line. You're like, "No, dude, relax." So yeah, there's a real fear of firing squad from you. Party dictator.
Yeah, so, I don't know whether Ivan is the Ortega of parties or Ortega is the Ivan of Nicaragua. Either way, they are kicking him out. That's the idea there.
Well, I think part of the issue that I think has been brewing for a long time is his wife, right? So
It's always the wife.
it's always the damn wife. Well, I mean, he's brought her in to be his vice president.
Yeah.
And so people are saying, that this type of Somoza type behavior is unacceptable, and they're right to protest about that. So it's the impact on the cigar business is I think the reason why we're talking about it so much.
Right.
Right now, like they're having problems getting shipments out. They're having they're afraid to send cargo from Esteli out to Managua. So yeah, it's gonna be touch and go here for a little bit.
Yeah.
They've been through this before, though, right?
And it didn't end
It
well.
didn't end well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it didn't end well for the cigar industry either. I mean, the cigar industry's recovered, but
Yeah, factories burned down. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ugly. So I mean, that's not happening right now.
no. Right.
But it can turn just like it's turned to this point. So
It'll be interesting also to see. I mean, obviously, hopefully, it doesn't get to this point.
oh, God willing,
But
of course.
there are protests and all that in Esteli. But I get the sense, and maybe I'm wrong, right? I mean, maybe being there as part of the cigar community, you see a different side of things from the locals, or maybe they don't let you in on certain things. But this is a national level protest movement. If it continues and it gets to that point of damage to private property and
By the way,
and
there already
business
has been some, like the Colonia supermarket there in Esteli.
So no, but what I was going to say was I wonder what Estelianos' attitudes will be toward threats against the private cigar businesses that have really been responsible almost solely for
The growth
the
of Esteli.
growth of Esteli. And the fact that even inside of one generation, people tell you, like, no, the lifestyle here has changed dramatically. Like, we are, a 30-year-old will tell you, I can remember what it was like when I was 10. And now it is a world apart, and I never want to go back to that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, like, as that national movement evolves, if that ends up becoming a threat to private businesses, which it did the last time, right?
Well, I mean, it's mob mentality, right? When you have mob mentality, things get crossed up in your brain. It just does to all humans. So, yeah, hopefully we don't get to that situation. I need to speak to some other
Sure.
Italianos and see how they feel about it. But I'll report back.
Yeah. Speaking of which, somewhat related plug. The next episode of this podcast will be, or no, I'm sorry, the one that we just put up.
Yeah, the one we put up.
The one we just put up is is episode 27, our interview, Eric's interview actually, and I just kind of chime in with one question way at the end, with Alejandro Martinez Cuenca, who's the man behind Joya de Nicaragua Cigars. So check that out because there is a lot of some of this history of Nicaragua and Esteli, weaved into or woven into the history of that company. So that may not be a bad thing to listen to as you familiarize yourself with this whole protest situation.
Yeah, I'd love to speak to him now about what his thoughts are on this. I mean, he's very well versed in politics and government in Nicaragua, so he's a great resource right now.
For sure. All right, let's come back to the cigar. Ivan, what are your thoughts so far? How are you feeling?
It's a pretty good cigar. I mean, it's nobody's gonna say it's a Padron, a Fuente, but it's a
it's not gonna knock your socks off in any way.
Yeah,
but
but I think picking this up as a at a brick and mortar is an excellent cigar.
Yeah,
you remember
somebody told you it was an unbanded house brand?
Yeah,
solid.
Yeah,
Super
I don't
solid.
remember if you talked about. Did you mention how much you paid for it?
Yeah,
we
went through all the
we went through some of the pricing.
So it was part of one of those package things.
Yeah, well, no, this this was just in a tray in a humidor, and we kind of did a little bit of a grab bag, so it wasn't a sampler pack or anything like that.
So you don't know how much it cost.
I don't know how much this costs, but I would guess ballpark $10.
Yeah, it's and getting a little bit on the geeky side of stuff. Right, the flavors have mellowed almost too much, right? Like
Sure.
now I'm not getting any of the the chocolate that I was getting in the beginning. For me, it went from chocolate heavy, chocolate and earth. Then it turned a little towards the grassy side, and then
grassy.
now
I get that.
and then now I'm not getting a whole lot of flavor. Again, I'm not knocking the cigar. I think it's still something you can smoke. It's not. If you're in Puerto Rico, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So, yeah, keep an eye out for Don Rey again.
And the construction, by the way, is still kicking
Solid.
ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of
caca.
let me do it. Yeah, speaking of caca, I was trying to figure out how I was going to transition. Have a little bit of, I don't know if this is a debate, but we're calling it one for now, the Great Burger Debate. We thought we'd just talk fast food. This was Ivan's submission to the agenda for this podcast, and we are tentatively calling this the Great Burger Debate, or What Doesn't Give You Caca? Personally, I don't necessarily measure the quality of my fast food according to caca, but
Of course not.
But I know, hey, different strokes for different folks. And Ivan, what doesn't give you caca?
I got some health issues, so I got to take everything into account.
Sure.
But if we're talking burgers, we got to talk price, availability, and flavor and taste. I personally like Five Guys, but I run across a lot of people that talk bad about it. I don't
Listen,
understand.
I love Five Guys. I'm just having an issue with putting Five Guys in the fast food category.
How much is a burger at Five Guys?
No, it's not about price. It's just Five Guys is I think it's more on the fast casual side.
Yeah, like
as opposed to like straight up fast food, BK, McDonald's, Wendy's.
Right. Five Guys, you'd probably compare more to like a Chipotle
Yes. Yeah. Fast.
in the style of the service.
Okay.
So, but hey, listen. I mean, if you want to have this burger debate, that's fine. I love Five Guys. I love
So
it.
why don't we start with just places with drive-throughs? Where are you going for a burger?
If it's got to be a drive-through place, I'm going to Wendy's.
I do Wendy's too, but I hear In-N-Out is the.
Oh, we don't have them here.
No,
West.
but we
Yeah.
travel, yeah.
Yeah. We're worldly here.
Ooh.
We're worldly on this podcast. No, but I'd go In-N-Out, Wendy's right under that. Super overrated. What a burger.
Yeah.
We're upsetting our Texas contingent here, I believe.
No, but I've been to a Whataburger like at 4:00 in the morning,
Yeah.
which is super clutch.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Well, yeah.
there's just about anything is clutch at that point if you can ingest it.
So, removing that drive-through requirement, what are you saying now, Ivan?
What do I say
Yeah.
now?
What do you, and no, let's stick with the drive-throughs because this is what doesn't give you caca. Who are the worst offender? What are you avoiding? What do you see and think, oh man, that's gonna give me caca?
I love how that is the metric.
I got really punished this week with a little Taco Bell.
I knew there was a story behind this.
Of course, that's
Oh
why
my
you put that
God,
in there.
Taco Bell killed me. I don't know
Okay.
what it was. And I tried to go healthy with like their taco salad, which is not a salad.
Or
No.
healthy.
Or healthy.
But you know what I find interesting about this? I've known this guy for too long. He has been like the biggest proponent for Taco Bell my entire
People
our
change.
entire lives.
People change.
I'm loyal.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm
Even to
loyal.
a fault, like
So
even
you'll
to
go
a
back.
caca fault.
You'll go
Yeah,
back.
no, I'll go back for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So Taco Bell gave you caca. Taco Bell salad. Salad seems like the thing that would give you caca at a Taco Bell, though. Because it's got like too many
but I
wet
also had
ingredients in there.
I also
Well, what
I
else?
also
Yeah.
had the triple cheese nachos.
Oh, triple cheese. It's like the saucy cheese.
Super saucy,
Yeah.
fake meat. They had me. It was a little special that they had going. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
they
let's
got
There was
try
a little
it.
throw-in. It was
Yeah,
a player
it was
to
a
be named later.
Yeah.
And it was...
They got you
that
good.
might have thing. That might have been it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. That was it.
Anything else?
I'm not a fast. I don't do a lot of fast food.
Yeah.
And then when I have to, it's typically just Wendy's.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I when I do, I regret it, and it's usually, again, super late at night. The times that I find myself doing that is when we're here in the office until crazy late.
hey, you told me that the other day, and I'm like, are you nuts?
I can't go to sleep on an empty
By
stomach.
the way, what he's talking about is when we're working late, we're talking about leaving the office at, I don't know, 1, 2 a.m.
Sometimes later. Like
No,
3.
of course, yeah, but that's like the...
I can do 2 a.m., but if I'm leaving here at 3
You're
and
starving.
I haven't eaten since like 6:30, I can't go to sleep.
I do the same thing, but I just don't eat.
Yeah.
I'll just go to sleep hungry, and I can't eat anything
That would
at
be
that
the
time of
smart
the
play.
night.
That would be the smart play, but I always feel like I won't fall
Yeah,
asleep.
you guys are such snobs.
What do you mean, dude?
I went and saw the
I'm a
Foo
snob
Fighters.
because I go to Wendy's at 3 a.m.?
Oh, I'm saying no, because he says you won't.
No, it's not that no, it's just because I won't be able to sleep with all that food in my stomach at that time.
Okay,
Oh,
No, that's why I don't do it.
Full stomach helps me sleep.
for sure.
Yeah.
Not if
food
it's
coma.
fast food.
Total food coma.
No, not if it's fast food.
Remember,
Not for me.
I don't have caca problems. You've seen...
I think you also
Yeah, I think you do, and you just
Yeah.
you're not.
in denial.
Yeah, total denial.
But you're also a lot younger than us. Your gastrointestinal system hasn't been through the damage that we have put ours through.
Well,
It's just an age situation, right? When you get to your mid 40s, you've put in some work into that system. You've destroyed it.
what are you going to do? Well, in the meantime...
What I can do.
what I can do. It's what it's... In the meantime, yeah, I'm going to keep abusing, to the extent that it's necessary, my gastrointestinal system.
Yeah,
So
of
we'll
course.
see.
Till
We'll
you
see how
get to your
long-
40s
we'll see
and
how
then
long I'm
you'll-
on that train.
Yeah, when you get to your 40s, you'll be like, oh, God, I can't do that at 3 in the morning.
All right. You know who won't give you caca?
Oh, God.
Villager Cigars. And now a word from this episode's sponsor, Villager Cigars. Villager Cigars is celebrating 130 years in tobacco and unveiling its first ever full-bodied premium handmade cigar in the Villager La Vencedora. It's a follow-up to the highly acclaimed Villager La Flor de Inclán and Villager Sandoro Colorado. The Nicaraguan Puro is wrapped in a beautiful Nicaraguan Habano Oscuro wrapper and boasts a potent full-bodied smoking experience featuring highly seasoned, hearty flavors. The Villager La Vencedora is a palate-pleasing, full-bodied yet elegant cigar that will satisfy the cigar connoisseur as well as the casual smoker. Make sure that you visit Villager online at villagercigars.com. Check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/villager.northamerica, Twitter at Villager Cigars, that's cigars with an S at the end, and Instagram at Villager Cigar. Just Villager Cigar, no S at the end, on Instagram. All right, thanks to Villager Cigars for their sponsorship and for not giving us caca.
Vamos a seguir con eso.
As always, we are wrapping up with our parting recommendations. But before that, I will note, again, check out our last episode with Alejandro Martinez Cuenca and keep an eye out for upcoming episodes aside from these banter, chit-chatty episodes among our staff. We have interviews coming up. In fact, we have a pretty solid roster of interviewees coming up. I believe what we're planning for is Dion Giolito from Illusion. Illusion or Illusioni? Hey there.
I always say Illusion.
I've heard a couple people say Illusioni.
I know, but they also say Tatua G and they also say Olivia. So
Yeah, well, just for good measure. You go Illusion, I'll go Illusioni. But he's coming up.
you didn't ask him this in your interview with him?
I felt embarrassing. I was sitting right, and now maybe he'll hear this and be like, "Oh, these idiots! You should have just asked me." But I was sitting right in front of him, and it was like, "Shit! I've been talking to this guy for an hour now. I can't say Illusione or Illusione." So, anyway, so Dion will be on an upcoming episode, as well as Eric Espinosa, boom, and Kyle from Warped Cigars. So yeah, we got all kinds of goodness coming up. If you are into cigars, which I think you are because you're listening to this podcast.
If not, you'll
want to hear from these people who
glutton for
probably
punishment.
make some of your favorites. So, parting recommendations. This is where we get into what you should be watching, smoking, drinking, reading, doing, or avoiding, which we've done before. It's been a while though, right? We did the paint.
Well, we just talked about avoiding certain foods at certain times.
That's right. Yes.
But
yes.
yeah, no.
So, Ivan, what are you recommending for the people?
So I played golf recently with some dude that I do not remember his name. But it was
It's always a good start.
But it was a practice round that I was playing for a tournament that I played well, but I didn't accomplish what I set out to do. And I don't want to get into it. So let's just say I just didn't qualify for what I wanted. But anyways, this guy I played with appreciated my golf game, and he wanted to wish me luck, and he gave me a sleeve of tailor-made TP5 golf balls. So I took them, and I was like, whatever. But they actually turned out to be great golf balls. I played with them, and they're a 5-piece construction ball, soft cover, and they went long. So the ball is actually really, really good. It's their new release. I'd check it out. So
That sounds good, man. So that's what you got. I'm going with the Derby. It's Derby week.
the Brown Derby.
No, not the Brown Derby. It's the Kentucky Derby. But yeah, I'm excited about the race coming up. I think with we have the new cigar shop that opened nearby, Cava Cigars. The owner is a guy who is big into horse racing. He breeds horses and all this kind of stuff, and he's gotten me a little bit into the Derby, so I'm psyched about it.
I like Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit's
Yeah.
going, not Seattle Slew.
Out of the Post, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Say I don't have a recommendation because I'm not. I don't know enough about this stuff, but I'm gonna be all over it in terms of watching it this weekend.
Cool. I am also recommending a thing to watch. This is a series called Big Mouth on Netflix. I binge watched this on the flights to and from Puerto Rico. It is a cartoon. It's an animated series, but very much an adult series along the lines of like don't let your kids watch it the same way as like South Park or whatever. Very star-studded cast with a lot of very well-known comedians, and the whole thing is about a group of elementary school or middle school friends going through puberty. So,
Oh wow, that is like very appropriate for my current family situation.
Yeah, no,
I
and
like 12-year-old at home.
if not for like how over the top they go, which ends up being hysterical, but you're watching and thinking, God, I almost wish that this was a notch less vulgar, so it'd be appropriate to watch with kids or whatever who are going through some of that. But it really is like an adult's, comedy or an adult's take.
And you said this is a Netflix?
It's a Netflix series, yeah. So just about almost the entire cast of The League, for example, does voices on
Oh,
here.
that is right up your alley, buddy.
Yeah, John Mulaney is in there, Maya Rudolph. To give you an idea, all the boys on the show are being followed around by the puberty monster, which is a creature only they can see, who tries to get them to do naughty stuff when they see things that look like boobies. But very funny. It's one of those things that you'll want to watch.
No, I'm going to watch it. There's
hysterical.
no way
hysterical. Maybe don't watch it on a plane because there were some awkward moments where I had to like cover my screen on the sides of my phone, but definitely worth checking out. So anything else we want to throw at them?
No, man, keep smoking.
Keep smoking. There you go. Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Cool. Yeah, well, do that. Okay. Thanks for joining us. This is the Cigar Snob Podcast. You can find us at cigarsnobmag.com/podcast. Also on social media, look for Cigar Snob Mag, or on Facebook, Cigar Snob Magazine. Write us any feedback that you might have at feedback@cigarsnobmag.com. Again, this is the Cigar Snob Podcast. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Later.